will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready, bitches. Winternomics. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics. Winter, winter, winter. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics. Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready, bitches. Winternomics. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics. Winter, winter, winter. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics. Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready, bitches. Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready, bitches. Winternomics. Welcome. Winter, 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 Winternomics. Winter, winter, winter. Welcome. Winter, winter, Winternomics.
Welcome back. Happy Monday. What's everybody doing today? Pretty good week last week, I think. Saw a lot of good stuff in Telegram. Saw a lot of good stuff in DMs of Instagram. How'd you guys make out last week? I saw some of you adhere to the link army logic. Told you, link army's unstoppable. Let's see where we at. Morning. Let's see messages. What you got? Every one of these shows are epic ones. I don't know about iTunes yet. We'll see. Any particular intel on the executive order Trump has signed up last Friday? Not really. Have to see which one of those can go through. He's trying to override Congress. So executive order versus what gets into play, I guess you have to wait to see. I mean, going to the election, right, the thing is to pump your base and get them perks and shit like that. So he will do nothing but to try and grease the pot the entire way to the election. So that's understood. What he can get through, though, what gets to the people is, what's up for debate. Can we talk about Tezos? Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit. Space Retrace. Thanks for the bits, BTC Booger. So I guess we'll start with crypto, I guess, since that was the hot item of the weekend. Dollar pegs are dollar pegs. There's not much to it. No real thoughts on that. So let's see. Don't always have the thoughts on every single thing, Let's switch cameras real quick. So I have crypto sitting up here because I know that's going to get asked. Again, we evolve this chart and watch it, right? And BTC is still really just doing what we said. He's kind of like above his 10-4 level and he's ranging. And he's doing, what we were looking for if you did get up here. Come on. What color do I want? That's the drawing. That's what we've been looking for, and he's about in that range. So that's what you've been looking for. You're looking for a structure you can do something with. That's the daily res. We dropped down a time frame. I think I drew up something on a lower one last week. Right, that guy, just showing you the range right at the climax. That's what we'd said, like when you're in an uptrend in BTC, right, you get these vicious dump moves that generally they step their way right back up and leave people in the dust after fucking killing everybody who eats these on BitMEX or various high-level exchanges. He's not doing anything out of the ordinary, right? He just needs time, just like we did with like when we watch Apple and Tesla on the way up, like you let them set these ranges and you give them a minute and you let them find their way out of it and you play the next arcs that come from it. So nothing really much more to talk about there. BTC's doing BTC things. With his strength, it obviously comes a little retrace in some of these alts. But if you watch these guys that we told you, right, we told you the 3 big alts that we gave a shit about: Tezos, Link, and this guy. And we'll look at these guys here. So been harping on these pretty much for the last couple months. If you pay attention to these guys, right, these were great plays. We told you this guy was just like one giant fucking bull flag, right? And so the level that we care about is obviously up here at 535, which is getting blown up right now. So that sets the stage to allow us to continue that directionality now that you've actually killed this down wave structure. So let's see what, Adam can do. Link, it's fucking Link. Told you. Link is fucking crazy. And so, a lot of these guys look really good. Thought I drew some stuff on here that might be not there. Maybe I didn't. But, you get your big old bull flag right there. You set up for it, and he blew right out of it again. And that was something worth watching because we told you if you pay attention to Link BTC. Link BTC himself was in a bull market, meaning that Link is just ridiculously stronger than Bitcoin. So in the dollar market, like, he's the thing. And now you saw his volume actually eclipsed BTC in Coinbase to tell you just how fucking strong this fucking thing really is. So, he looked good across the market, across multiple assets. So Link USD, Link BTC. If you guys played these, I saw a lot of ridiculous plays in chat. So I know a lot of you hit this. So good job. We talked about Tezos not really having that fundamental underpinning that Ether has at the moment, with Uniswap. And but it's still, we're watching the whole breadth of crypto, and we're watching the strength of Link and these guys, right? There is upside movement in the stronger, bigger names of crypto right now. So why it makes sense to keep on your radar. So Tezos is a laggard, but technically all these guys look pretty good. So not much else to add to that. What are you guys doing over here? All these alerts. Let's see. Oh, that's not good. My stream manager is knocked out. Oh, there it goes. Catch up real quick. My thoughts on the dam in China could collapse. If it collapses, it'll be a disaster. It's not constructed well. Like much everything else China makes, it's a subpart of what they say. Don't have much more than that on it, It's supposed to last how many ridiculous amount of years, and it's about to fucking collapse now. It seems pretty interesting. But I don't have any thoughts on it beyond that. Are miners lagging versus metals? We'll talk about it in a little bit. Yeah, I wouldn't say he has a stranglehold on Democrats by using the executive order. For the dumbest people in society, right, if it doesn't go through and he writes this executive order, it'll look like the Democrats are stopping him. But he's kind of exhausted that kind of political tool. His grandstanding and lies have undermined the good to make that as effective as it could be. It's kind of obvious that everything he does is dishonest to everybody on the planet now. So his Johnny-come-lately save us before elections looks like what it looks like. I don't think it has the kind of impact it does with past presidents trying to paint the tape towards election, because he's clearly manipulating the entire country using the disease. He's not subtle about it. So I think he loses some of the firepower of that manipulation. Don't think that it does not work on some people, but I don't think it's a stranglehold like it would be in the past if he was more subtle about those political actions. Let's see. Damn. Thanks for hooking up the these subs, Philadelphian and PGLC. Appreciate the bits also, Sarah. CGC beat earnings. Let's see. Can we talk a look at industrials? Yeah, we'll talk about some of these guys in a minute. All right. So one of the reasons we talked about fractal things is that I get so many questions in Telegram about stuff that we put in plain sight. So Fractal Tings refers to the blog we have over here. Fractal Truth of Markets, which you guys can go check out on our home website, Nomics.com. So this blog post, I've actually referred so many people in our Discord and our Telegrams to read this. And I can always tell when people come back that they haven't really read this. A lot of people ask us stuff about, hey, how do you play swing levels and things like that, like I see in the chat. This website contains all of that, plus these shows. We go over like exits of shockwaves all the time, draw that up all the time. In these things, like, we put a phenomenal amount of information here that we find that most people, simply because of the volume of words, won't actually read any of this, which is stunning. This is pretty much how crash cycles became a thing, and the crash cycle pattern in crypto is this introduction. This is the entire history of it in your markets, down to the first time we ever showed gold behaving like the NASDAQ and so on. So you want to learn a lot of things. This is kind of show you a lot of things about markets, right? Everyone's always like, is this a fractal? Is that a fractal? Is this a fractal? Right? We know that the same patterns emerge in every asset class, regardless of time scales. Look at things like gold. This is a decade-long bull market from 2001 that emerged in gold. This is the NASDAQ. This is the Shanghai. This is BTC just in the year 2014. Only thing that's common to all these asset classes is people's behavior. That's the main tenet of this article, is that it's the people that make all of these assets look alike. And our emotional structures aren't really varied, from how euphoric we can be to how terrified we can be. Those are our extremes. And so the consensus of the population that is cornering each of these sides of the market are what allow for this repeating pattern to happen in every asset class. So if you haven't ever read through this is the first post about fractals. This is Truth to BTC series from 2015. This deals with the introduction of fractals in crypto. And then this is a long form writing on it to go over this, like even places you see it, why you see it and stuff like that. So I highly encourage everybody to take a look at this. This was Black Coin in 2014 when we were comparing the structural similarities of Black Coin to the NASDAQ and then using it to track down a location to scalp this guy. To catch and flip it, and it worked, and we tested out live in the markets, and then we used it on Piggy Coin, and this is where everyone that you see in crypto talks about the crash cycle. This is where they learned about it. This is when nobody knew you could use behavioral patterns like this on super thin microcap shitcoins to the same effect as any large market. And again, going over patterns like the motor unit action potential, which has nothing to do with people whatsoever, but shows a fractal shape of things that exist within the system besides people's emotions. This is just a part of the system, the way things are. This is really good stuff for you guys who are always asking me, is this a fractal? Is that a fractal? I went through it. I went through the entire history of introducing this to crypto. And the actual analyst who wrote the book on the emotional structure himself is in Cash Cycle 2, which is also on this website for you guys to check out. It'll help you learn a lot about it. So this was the actual original first crash cycle chart in crypto posted to show what was going to happen to BTC when most people were laughing about this being not possible in crypto. So today when you see everyone posting these crash cycle charts, just remember when this was first posted, this was not a thing. Nobody believed this was even something you could do. This was something, before we had a bunch of racist goons go after deleting our Twitter. This was something that nobody liked. If you searched at that time, crash cycle, the term crash cycle, or together, there's only crash bicycles until we introduce that chart. We are the actual introduction of crash cycles in crypto Twitter. And this is all the way back to 2008-9. There is no mention of this until we introduce this logic to the marketplace. So for as much as people tried to delete, the history of how things came about, you can't, because we did archive it. You can't hide it. But crash cycles in markets in crypto originates with us, and fractal logic also. So if you want to learn about it, we wrote the history out even before these dickheads tried to delete the history, which is what stupid people do, delete information that's totally beneficial to you just because you don't want somebody else to have it. Haters do those kinds of things, And this is why we say ignorance encircles value. So this goes through this too, just to kind of give you some history. One thing, if you don't keep receipts, right, there are people who edit history to make sure you never know. Little stuff about galaxy spirals I know some of you asked me about from this blog on last show, moon cycles, all these things kind of came about in 2014-15 introduction to crypto. just showing the ways that you could time things and things that affect human behavior. A quick note on these things, right? Galaxy spiral is obviously a Fibonacci ratio, but not just in in time, but in space. So it shows you that like events and price are related to one another, Fibonacci distance away in both time and space. And in basically tracking different emotional events, you could arrive at confluences at locations in time and space that show another emotional event is likely to occur. That's your Easter egg for galaxy spirals. But again, moon cycle, stuff like that. You guys can read about this stuff on there as you want to. This shows you bottom of the market history back in 2015. This is probably the most well-known OG, Crypto Cobain, probably one of those intuitive OGs out there. And this was the call at the bottom of 2015 before a cash cycle with Ross Gerber that led to like the meetings of Wall Street and Main Street. So really good history for all you guys who are curious about like the history of crypto. I wrote this all out here. It's well documented. Stunning to see how few people can actually read the entire post and learn anything from it. But for those of you who don't realize, the cash cycle 1 was the awareness pump of crypto, Bitcoin. And bringing Roger Ver together with Ross Gerber in 2015 was actually a plan to basically market crypto to the planet. And this is a project that we did, in our community, bringing that to happen. And, the rest of it, I guess you could say, is history. But you learn a lot of stuff here about shockwaves. So you guys asked me about shockwaves and things. I literally show you so much stuff in this one post. If you actually read it, it's always stunning. So whenever you come back to ask me questions like, how do you play a shockwave when it leaves? When I've clearly documented the shit out of it, like I just know you don't read anything. So I don't tend to answer your questions directly on the show, which drives a lot of people crazy, because I'm trying to make you stop being a lazy asshole and actually read the shit that I wrote out and documented at this level of detail for everyone's benefit for free, sitting on my website, that most of crypto is going back to pirate and use to sell you guys courses that you pay for without, because you don't inform yourselves of where the fuck it's coming from. So if you see anyone selling you shit on Fractal anything, crash cycle anything, all of it's being dug up off of my pages and sold back to your asses because you don't inform yourselves. So inform yourself or people will do that shit to you. So again, this is just a history in markets. This is showing the similarity of BTC back in the bottoms of 2015 and the similarities of BCH when Roger Ver and Jihan Wu split this this fork and made this. We were in the same locations of both situations. And pretty much all of crypto was completely clueless at that exact moment. So this goes through some pretty interesting stuff. This is cash cycle 1. Cash cycle 1 and the awareness pump that we just showed you up here. Since most people don't put this together, we'll put it together for you. Right? The awareness pump to bring a $1 billion investor like Roger Ver together at the table with Ross Gerber in 2015, when all of crypto in September did not know that the market was actually in the bottoms, is a plan only from Nomics ecosystem. There's not anybody else in crypto. They had shit their pants in 2015 and thought the market was dead. So when we brought this plan together, literally nobody knew crypto was going to come back. This was a marketing plan put together by our team in the depths of the bear market. And for as many people as want to deny it, that's why you have to document these things, because they'll lie their faces off. This is the behavioral cycle chart, the seasonality chart that lets us know the end of the actual crypto boom, when it would happen, actually before the top happens. This is May 25th, 2017. And this is the forecast for altcoin winter to end December 27th, 2018. So for you guys to go through this is a huge educational piece and a great piece of history to look at. Again, this is the awareness pump of Bitcoin, and this is actually cash cycle 3. It looks like a mirror image, but this is the exact same team of guys, Roger Ver, myself, Ross Gerber, in the exact same location, a day apart, 2 years apart, in the fork of Bitcoin. If you can't understand what the awareness pump of BTC means now, and you believe that this is a coincidence we're in the same location twice in 2 different assets, you might be a dummy. But your crypto market doesn't look like it looks today if this is never done. And this is a crypto history for you guys who've seen it deleted and don't know exactly why we do things the way we do on this show. We want you to take the time to actually inform yourself. The more informed you are, the less able the shitheads in crypto are to pump shit and kill you and separate you from your money, if you can make your own choices and you're not able to be fooled by shit like this. But all the fractal calls and shit like that you see, that people try to rip off, this is the home of all of them. And so if you want to go through and understand it better, by all means, read these guys out. I added some updates as time went on. I'll add some more updates to this page for some stuff that has evolved ever since. But this is a good education for you understanding behavioral patterns in markets through human behavior and the evolution of it in public spaces. This was actually the warning since Litecoin winter all the way down that crypto never heeded, that they actually went to the trouble to delete this account that was actually warning everybody who lost their ass in this crash. It wasn't sort of like a call to like warn people like Armageddon was coming. It's all we did the entire fucking year was warn you what it was. Because we've seen it before. We've lived through this cycle already. So at the end of all things, Winternomics came back to save the day, and he let you know where the bottom was, even with them trying to wipe out my information. So this is home of Fractal analysis. There is none other that do it. So for a good timeline of really the history of crypto, to give you a real idea now of what most people don't put together information too well. This is the awareness pump of crypto. Look where it is. This is the bottom where nobody knows. This is cash cycle, where the whole world thinks fucking Bitcoin's toast. And from that emerges the entire wave of crypto as you know it. Bitcoin Cash also does this exact same move in a much smaller scale of time. So if you ever wonder why it was so important to wipe out my Twitter, it's because there's no one that owns the cycles for the last half a decade. We do. So deleting this was ultimately important to sell all of you the bullshit you're sold now, which robs most of you completely out of your minds. So this is the actual story of crypto with context. I invite you to check it out, Fractal Truth of Markets. And this shows you the entire bottom of your market and pretty much the entire way it happened, right? This is Litecoin winter. There's one lone voice at the very tip of the spear telling you that this is going to look like the internet bubble. You do understand if any other analyst on the planet had ever called something this deliberately, this accurately, using a behavioral fractal to this degree, this would be world famous, right? Wouldn't be met with deletion. It's been nothing but a systematic effort to hide that this was ever done by any analyst. You have to ask yourself why they keep trying to do that so much. But when you understand ignorance encircles value, right, and this is the point of value at that time, this is the ignorance of all of crypto and all of the ignorance that agreed with it, that puts so many of you on the side of a $600 billion crash and wiped families completely out of existence. Nobody wants this to be hung around their neck. I can understand that. But this is history. This isn't a troll. This is the realities of who fucking fed everyone to the monster. And at the end of the day, there's no lies you can tell to put yourself on the other side of this data point. There is only one major crypto player that put people on the right side of this marketplace and continues to do it for years on end. So context matters. Thought it was important for us to go over this stuff. That's why we show you shit like this, right? We gave you the altcoin winter end date, December 27, 2018, and you had plebs like this come in and tell you it was winter in the depths of winter. Literally fucking you at the bottom of the market. So I'm trying to show you this. Who is feeding everyone into the wrong ends of the market? Your giant shitcoin accounts with the other idiot shitcoin accounts shoving all of you into the wrong end of the train. This is why we document this. This is how markets work. The great many on the wrong side of the very few. So, Fractal Tings, Fractal Truth of Markets, it teaches you a whole lot about markets and about the evolution of fractals in markets. And something that's become pretty much a word hanging out of everyone's mouth. Is this a fractal? Is that a fractal? If you ever wonder where that came from, if you've ever been in markets for more than a decade and realize you never heard that shit 5 years ago, this is where it comes from. So, a little history lesson, right? For everybody who doesn't know where that comes from. And that saying, I believe it's a Mark Twain quote. Some people have attributed it to somebody else, but we believe it's a Mark Twain quote. So, Fractal Truth of Markets. And this is the history, the story, Bitcoin's timeline. This is pretty critical for those of you who don't really realize what happened in this marketplace. We saw a pomp interview this weekend that cleverly left out that this is how this ever happened. Every one of these shitbags you see in crypto talking about anything Bitcoin today don't have the ability to do this if Roger Ver, myself, and Ross Gerber don't sit down to do the awareness pump of crypto. You do not have a BTC market like you talk about today. So I thought this is important for the context of the story you see going on out there to set the record straight. And if we don't keep receipts, leave it up to certain historians, they'll edit your name right out of history. So got to make sure to keep the history records correct, because if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. All right, so that's that. Uh, 8:30. Quick history lesson. What do you guys think? All right, catching up. Let's see. Thanks for the bits, Cryptolarius. Can you tell me the name of the site? Are you serious right now? Do you have any idea? You don't, so like most people would be like, oh sure, head on over to such and such.com. I just can't answer direct questions like that. When the answer is hidden in plain sight, it drives me fucking crazy. I'm gonna make you fucking look for it. Damn it, somebody wrote you the damn name of the site. Alright, so when people do that stuff, this is part of our vetting process. I do not want anybody in my ecosystem, even in my fucking audience, that doesn't read. I as much as I'd love to grow this show, I'm more interested in taking a fucking meat cleaver and kung fu chopping the shit out of anybody that's retarded that comes to the audience. I just can't stand it. I can't compromise on that. The reason that we have an ecosystem of people that perform the way they do is because we don't accept less. You have to make the effort to look at what's in front of your face. We absolutely will not try to answer stuff that you could answer if you took 5 seconds of effort. That's part of a habit that most people don't have, is effort. So everything about what we do is meant to condition that, to make some effort. One, if I'm going over the website right in front of your face, dude, check the freaking address bar. And if you can't see that, surely you know who I am, that hosts the fucking show. Like, it's like, come on, bro. It's not hard, but like, yeah, just try a little bit. All of that may sound like us being a dick, but it pushes you to make some efforts that most people get like used to being, lazy about. So why won't it read? It's the truest statement in the world. Why won't anybody read? It's crazy. But yeah, thanks for the bits, Sunseiko. So most of what you see crypto selling you back, it's all been free. It's been publicly sitting there the whole time, with them repackaging up a poor man's version of it and like forcing it up your ass for money. We put it all out there for free to help people. Basically, two things: we sample the population's behavior, but in 2014 there are people being killed in pump groups, and the people that came to us, we just made it public and in a conversation because it would benefit people who no longer would be manipulatable by pump groups if they knew what we knew. So we just left it out in broad daylight, and learned some things by putting things in broad daylight. That meant we would keep putting things in broad daylight just to see the behavior of people about it. I have just started to research stocks and your information. Why is there so much focus on cryptocurrencies? Crypto. So I've been in stock market and currencies and regular currencies for years. Crypto was a place that, like, how can I say this, right? At first glance, crypto appears pretty technological. This market, this decentralized money thing. The story seems like a story of technology. When you get into the market, though, and you see this antiquated, decentralized dog shit excuse for a marketplace, it presented a different opportunity. In here, you got to see markets functioning, like, as much as they're electronic, they're functioning at like the speeds of shit in like the 1930s. And that's an analogy, but it couldn't have been worse what I saw. When you had exchanges like Cryptsy, which most of you probably don't remember what that is, but that's one of the original shitcoin exchanges in the 2014 era. And, you post an order and it takes like 10 to 15 seconds to show up. I got to see things I could never see, in a decade and a half of trading markets, which was the transactional speed go down to such a slow speed that I could actually make sense of all of the transactions that build the chart. So within cryptocurrencies, I was able to like explore the fractal of human behavior that I understood already from the transactional market of real estate, that I understood, from studying behavior in markets already. And the ability to actually make markets in crypto meant that I got to study literally every single movement that goes onto the chart, every single fake in the order book, every single thing that goes in there. And I can actually explain every single data point on the chart, which was something you could never do. In Forex, there's too much information hidden from you. In stocks, bookmaking and the speed of the market making process was, a lot of unknowns were there for you. Unless you could be on that side of the table, you couldn't understand exactly how, they could actually stop you out in every single play you make to the exact penny. I could see all this once I got into crypto. And so it was like a massive, like, x-ray into like how the market worked. So fractal truth of markets, while I'm in crypto, and not that we're not, focused on bull markets around the world, because that we are. Not this, like, in this, so emotional structure, human behavior, this is something we've been studying before. We came across Brian Shannon, Alpha Trends, who wrote the book, multiple time frames, trading in multiple time frames. And in that's where that big crash cycle chart that everyone knows and loves comes from. So we'd studied this before, and when we came around, we came to the crypto market in November, right here, 2013. And so when this shape formed and I saw it, I was like, holy fucking shit. I'm like, in this digital market, I'm seeing this right now. And I'd seen this like in major macro cycles. I knew it was forming in gold. I'd seen it in the NASDAQ, which everybody knows from the crash cycle chart. And along the way in other cycles, assets that no one had noticed. So crypto actually allowed me to study people who are massively uneducated about the financial system, a purely digital market, a really slow transactional speed, and basically gave me x-ray vision into the people's behavior. So that's when you see stuff like, I write up here, if you read some of these bubbles, right? This was kind of the bullet points I put out at the time comparing the behaviors. And this was just pure fascination that I was seeing this inside crypto, and no one in crypto even knew what these patterns were or thought their markets were big enough to reflect anything that was like, in mainstream analysis. But gold is exhibiting scary similarities to past bubbles and fallen classic bubble structure. These graphs represent human behavior. It doesn't matter the asset class or the scale of time. Markets are fractal and exhibit the same structures at all scales of time. Number 3, ever wonder why pump and dumps on penny stocks or small altcoins, which is new to me at this point in time, looks exactly the same, even when done in just an afternoon? Don't make fun of me. I've got some old ass website. Hopefully it's not on here. My old website's so terrible. Fractal nature of markets means the behavior is the same. The only thing that changes in a different scale of time is the amount of market participants. So behavior is fractal. It doesn't matter if it's 100 people, 1 million people, they do the same shit. Pump and dumpers make bag holders out of rookie traders in small groups. Wall Street makes bag holders out of entire countries. This is fractal things. The game is the same if you really thought about it. Mainstream media is Twitter for the pump in larger assets. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't be a bag holder. Read the charts, not the news. And then I added this thing onto the end, right? Price structure very similar to previous crashes. So take an idiot not to notice this. There's so much crypto focus because this is pretty much where we find a lot of behavioral analysis in this marketplace. It was so slow. This is Polynex 2014 black coin. This is another of these exchanges, amazingly slow. You could make books in here in some of the smaller coins and take over coins and shit like that. And I saw this pattern after this ridiculous pump that happened out of March into this thing, and then I was like, I think I can catch this guy, like catching the fucking crash of the banking crisis. And sure enough, I was able to do that. So you got to study just behavior in another market. That's why there was such a crypto focus. You just couldn't get to do what was available to you in 2014 ever again. I don't know if there'll ever be a market that lets you do this again like this one did. But this market let you study things that you flat out could not ever see in the stock market, couldn't see in futures, can't see in Forex. It gave like a window into human behavior through an antiquated system that let me kind of piece together things that like literally you couldn't have ever solved in any of the other more traditional mature markets. So that's why the focus on that. There's the focus. So how much time do I got running here? So 8:40. Got a couple things to cover. Yeah, I gotta walk people through it, Philadelphia, because that whole why won't it read thing that's going on Telegram. I mean, every time someone asks the question, so what's this and what's that? Is this a fractal? We know you won't read this thing. And even when you come back, we just read the blog. What do you think of this? I'm like, you didn't read it. If you really read the amount of shit I put there, I've explained fractals at a crazy level and give you a historical fucking record of like a half a decade of these things. Cash cycle is called, one is the awareness pump. It is exactly the reason that Bitcoin left fucking 1,000, never came back. The timing that we had to put it there when the sentiment of the market was completely rubble, there was nobody who realized what it was when we organized a Wall Street meeting with fucking $1 billion investor. Crypto was on its fucking knees at that moment. No problems, Maniac. Let's see. You are being spoon fed because people don't read. And then the blog. There's so much stuff in the blog I put, man. That's just one article too. There's many other really good ones in here. And the older ones, a lot of people who are coming in are like focused on like the most recent ones. The Truth of Bitcoin series was this whole explanation a cycle ago for people who didn't read stuff before. So it's something that we've put up there. Like it's probably more detailed than the new ones, but a lot of the older stuff here can help you guys a lot. You know, looking at they're a lot simpler and shorter too compared to the ones today. Catching up. QZ Dub, thanks for the bits. Who controls the past, controls the future. Who controls the present, controls the past. Interesting. Yeah, Cross, it does. The website is directly on the Twitch page too. Like, it's everywhere. It's this crazy W look. Crypto Kitties destroying Ethereum. You remember that? Cryptopia. There's all kinds of horrific exchanges from back then that are gone. I mean, they're all terrible. Coined Up, Coins E. There's two of them, Coined Up and Coins E. Those things, like that website, like they look like the website wasn't going to come back. Every time you reloaded the page, you like prayed it would load back up with your money in it. You know, I think it was one of those two that I picked up Doge on, and it was just like, holy fucking shit! Like this website could be running out of somebody's laptop, and this is an exchange. You would never get a look at a market moving at that kind of speed with that kind of transparency again in your life. Do I think banks can play sympathy catch up? We'll talk about banks a little bit today. Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the financial system doesn't crash, that's kind of what you're watching. You know, some assets that are taking off like they are. Ultimately, if the financial system caves in, the United States' economy is not going to be a going concern. So I think as long as we remain viable, the further and further, you know, antisocial plays and shit like that run, the greater the discount and differential they create in relative value between themselves and financials are. So yeah, that's always a thing to keep track of. Financials are generally late cycle guys. They tend to show up when, you know, everything's already gone. Crypto, the Final Infinity Stone, I guess it was a window into a world that like I knew a ton of information about, but you could never verify, you know. And some of the coins that I actually controlled, I got to see people explain what they thought was making it do what it was doing when I knew for sure what it was. And that single moment, there's a specific moment, I won't exactly put it out there, but there's a moment that I saw somebody tweet why a coin was flying. And the reason he made up was completely made up. I knew the exact reason, but the crowd didn't care. He had an authority position in the market, so his lie took on a life of its own while I had all the keys to the city at the same time. And that was one of the biggest aha moments about how much belief supersedes reality. You know, when you believe in something, that idea itself can become real to you, and you can act on that fantasy you superimpose over reality. And I got to watch people do this while I had full control of things that let me realize what humans do when they believe with conviction in an idea, and help me understand what markets really are made of. They're made of our beliefs on a graph. Let's see. Gun stocks play and run up to election season. We can take a look at that. Pretty much gun sales. I mean, Black Lives Matter and the protests. I think almost any kind of social upheaval does well for gun sales. They've kind of spiked, you know, into a few elections over time. So I don't think it's specifically the protests that drove gun sales. Okay. All right, so before I get too far down, somebody asked about rotations, things like that. So what did we see at the end of last week? We did see some financial strength, which I think is warrants keeping an eye on coming into this week. Financials have been trapped, kind of in like shitty structures. Oh wait, forgot the camera. I'll get that. So what do I have? I have 15 minutes to give you guys some good shit before I gotta jump off. All right. Ooh, I actually caught up to all the questions. All right, so we're gonna cover some things before we wrap up. Let me get this thing over. Drew, thanks for the bits, Chief. So on the story of financials, watching those guys, yeah, I saw some interesting stuff go flying here on Friday. Much like we're always watching, right? We're looking at these. I'll use a big marker. Always watching for a shockwave, a place that price can be stable for a period of time, that allows like smarter money to aggregate larger positions. Remember, smart money doesn't chase rapidly moving prices. Prices moving at speeds like this don't sit in a place long enough for any way to accumulate meaningful sizes. So your smartest money is always your most patient money, and that's always going to be in a place where people who are patient name their price and can wait to accumulate where they want, not chase what's there and FOMO and take what's available. That's the difference between like intelligent buyers and not intelligent buyers, is that a good negotiator names his price and is patient enough to wait for it. An emotional one, it'll take what's available because of the fear of missing out of what if. So we look for like, shockwaves like this to give us locations of stability that can obviously become unstable should we mark up the perceptions cornered in this local monopoly. So XLF broke through this, definitely worth watching right now. We had marked, I already had that on. Mark the rising floors that you can see here. This whole setup, at the last highs, much like we talk about, right? You get a parabolic spike, climax in, and he's gonna put in the high and set a range in it. The range he sets here, this could be it. On the way down, you could kind of possibly wonder about it, but ultimately you're wanting to see a floor get set and then him begin to set from it. Let me use a different color. So once he finds a floor, we don't know where it ultimately is, but what you can see is this situation here, so he has a rising trend structure on a lower resolution, and that's ultimately what we want to see when you're correcting from lows. Is he setting up a corrective structure to rise back out of it? And he is in a larger resolution, a much larger one. So that was good to see him push out of. He's been stable pretty much through the whole, last half of July, doing absolutely shit. So that puts financials on the radar. We can see him come up here and obviously make like a shockwave above this and then do some stuff. He doesn't have to just leave in a straight stick. We know that. Dude, what the hell is going on with this fucking thing doing that? Where are my waves at? Thing looks crazy. Come on. Is it me or is this thing just drawing like shit? I don't know what's going on there, but you know what I'm trying to draw, goddammit. So he may make something like that here. Is he broken up out of there? See if he does it however far he pushes, but he looks interesting to see him do that stuff. Obviously some of your big banks and stuff like that are going to look like this, not him. He's a laggard. Citigroup is probably like one of your guys that tracks that guy the best. He looks a lot like him. And he's pushing up, but right now, so XLF actually leading out of this is not actually the spot where the strength is. Some of your banks are following this as they move, but seeing strength in guys like ICE, day trading is fucking a thing, right? Day trading is back like 20 years ago. So a lot of the players that are infrastructurally to support day trading are going to obviously boom with this. That's why Robinhood's in the media every day. Trading activity is obviously getting ridiculous. So NDAC and some of these guys that look really good, that have gone by under the radar too, with the comeback in the financial markets. A comeback in online trading has happened, and with the damage to online gambling, right? A whole ton of people that were speculators in online gambling have no place to put, hundreds of billions of dollars that were speculating on sports that can barely be played. So there is a lot of fundamental underpinnings to the surge that we see here. And, there is some strengths to financials, not necessarily the broadest parts of it, but there are financials that are also benefiting from what technically is an antisocial play. People rushing to trade capital markets online digitally is antisocial, right? It's adult video games. So zooming back into this guy, he looks a lot like that XLF pattern that we see here breaking out. What is it doing? Zoom in, bitch. All right. This guy looks strong, you know, it looks good. You can see that same kind of like region that was tied up there, pushed out. So some of these guys look structurally pretty good if XLF continues his strength. IBKR, brokers dealing with like day trading and stuff like that. This is interactive brokers. Let me zoom out a bit. Different resolution on this guy coming in just from the crash. Looking at him, you know, looks good. He's got that ridiculous climax in the bottom. You can see the bull flag he's got there. And this is either the same thing or, you know, he has to work his way up to clear the high. See what he does. But these guys look pretty healthy going forward. So some interesting stuff is moving. Banks are showing some internal strength, not as much as like these guys, but there is like broad-based stuff happening in financials that is worth paying attention to. I do agree. Watching like, you know, airlines too, some of the industrial names that have been strong. We talked about these guys last week. These guys weren't selling off. They maintained strength, which is a good sign, you know, to see that relative strength is maintained. UPS and FedEx, right? We looked at these guys and they just congested at the highs that they were in. And we looked at them on a weekly level, that they were sitting up at a weekly level that was of note, right? So this guy got up here, blew this flag out, blew out this huge bull flag, which was all meant to just a higher res bull flag, right? Bull flag's a bull flag's a bull flag. Fractal Tings, bull flag on a monthly is a bull flag. Who cares what the hell time frame it's on, right? So watching that guy get out of there, we saw some of the strength here in FedEx and some of these guys that are dealing with the forced reopening of the country, you know. He wasn't on that res. This was down on another res for him. That was UPS on a monthly. So with him, we had our levels here, our steps down, full reversal to blow this level apart. And we could actually see that like these markets weren't falling back as there was some kind of like, you know, rotations. These guys stayed pretty strong the entire time. And we talked about him just like shoving right back up into this level. Like, you know, he just literally just blew right through it. He didn't really come back down. So that looks good for a lot of guys, you know, industrial wise. There's a lot of different stuff that's moving like that. Boeing still looks like dog shit. But still paying attention to that guy. Even here, you know, looked at this one. This was before he broke down structure. I don't know, hourly chart. I don't know, that guy's probably worth watching. See if Boeing can make a comeback and get back through the 170s and get out the other side of the 180s. But very weak version of the comeback we see in financials, but nonetheless, they all look alike, you know. So I covered a couple of those things. Some financial industrial stuff does look pretty interesting right now. You look at Boeing, you look at FedEx, you look at UPS, they all have one thing in common, airplanes. So stands to reason to check like a guy like a basket group like this, jets. You know, we're still waiting to see signs of life in airlines. There was a union deal to kind of give these guys some stability for American, and I thought that was interesting, like, you know, to see what they're doing to kind of like economically plan to ride this out while we see if we can get the country back reopened or not. These guys don't look so good on this ride, let's say like down here. But if these guys are going to continue to push like we see financials, then there could be some strength to some of these guys I'm looking at. When I look at like, you know, the airline guys, they all pretty much look like they're inside of like, you know, shockwaves like this. So a little bit more oomph to them. They could see something. They obviously have like immediate levels to take out, but structurally don't look the worst in the nearest term. But again, like, you know, your macro, like big time frame stuff that's driving it is still fucking like, you know, cloud computing and antisocial plays, online shopping, things like that. But some of these guys didn't look bad finishing last week, so I thought I'd highlight them today, see how these guys perform into this week. A little bit of pre-market strength in some of these dudes, so we see if airlines and some of these financial guys keep that, or if we see online antisocial rotate back. So that's pretty much the thing that you're watching, right? You're either getting led upwards by the industrials, by financials, or the market is rotating back to some specialty retails or some techs that support this. You go full risk off, obviously you watch out. If the VIX really bounces, then everything that's got a big name on is going to get fucking crushed. So this guy should never come off your radar where we are now as we wait for this guy to get through 21, which he's still not done just yet. But he has gone down and tagged it to the penny. See, this is look at the top left up there. What's the low on that? 21 flush. Key level to the penny. So we wait to see if he can get back there while the market continues to bleed off fear and reprice higher. I think that was about it. On currencies, I'll get these in here before I run out of time. The range that we gave you was pretty significant. So generally when we give you significant areas, there's shockwaves that form on them that chop people up a lot. The dollar, DXY, euro dollar, all those guys, still the same ranges in play. And so now you've got a second bounce on it. So now you at least know where your likely shockwave range is, right? So you're just waiting for him to figure this out. All bouncing just in the same place. So nothing much to do with this, right? DXY range is going to be the range of these guys. And this oscillation in the dollar here in the currency basket obviously reflected too in gold, which took a breather, which we told you was a good chance it could do last week where he was. But trend's still intact, right? He comes down, much like BTC's dump move. He could easily step back up and go and break the high. Now we're well through 2000. Like, I don't think this is kind of the move that like gold flashes 2000 and goes back into its shell. We're getting a global reprice of like all risk assets and, even safe haven assets. So I think this guy pushes a few hundred to 2000 with people's jaws on the floor that didn't get to participate, that had years to find their way into this metal and just never bothered. So he's pushed well through 2000 a single shot. This is not really the biggest correction that could happen either. So I think gold still looks pretty good. Miners, you tend to see miners have like really aggressive downside reactions to metals when metals are down, and like seems like they don't want to go up as fast, and it's because a good bunch of these guys are hedged. They're not like pure plays on gold, so they tend to take like downside pressure in the commodity worse, and like the upside seems to drag them. But all in all, like we told you for many of the shows going forward, metals have been in play like all over the place, not just in not just gold, but like all metals are doing crazy shit. So copper, guys like copper's got a ridiculous bull flag sitting on him there, and one of your big players for that is FCX. Your uranium guys have been moving. It's not limited to precious. It's like everything on the planet is getting a reprice off of what's happening. FCX, these guys look crazy. Euro, crypto was like completely hard on for fucking uranium in 2018. Pretty much nobody's talking about it right now. This is like this is Euro. CCJ, which we talked about just very briefly a couple of shows ago, many shows ago. When you're biggest uranium players, amazing comeback from fucking lows. If any time that you should be looking at uranium, like now with this massive reprice happening to all fucking assets, all metals, definitely something that we think is now interesting, especially with superpowers at such hostile standoffs with each other. But that was uranium. We actually put this box range on it, and he's back in the range now. He's actually overcome the last highs that put him through the box range. Always good to see that, right? That's been taken out. So the volume has all but died in this guy over the years. So uranium's been that kind of outside dark horse, right? In case of a real Cold War, like this guy should go crazy if there's ever like nuclear armaments, going on again. I think there's much more interesting stories in the nuclear space than just, nuclear war. That's not exactly what I meant to do there. You know, the entire period of this consolidation, you really look at it, I think it's a time to at least put it back on your radar. I think the shockwave at the base of the lows really killed people who speculated on uranium, and this is the kind of move you need to fucking fully like just get them out of the market. Now it doesn't make any headlines at all, and I think now the geopolitical atmosphere makes a lot more sense to want to give a shit about uranium. You know, you have all kinds of different energy pushes, whether it be the clean energy wave that people have, trying to get out of like fossil fuels. Nuclear is also still a talking point for energy production, as much as it is for weapons. So, no, something interesting. But like I said, it's a move that's not just limited to gold. You know, silver is moving far more aggressively than gold recently too, and most people are not paying attention to that either. Gold is the guy that's going to get the headline, but silver is the guy that's moving more aggressively in this most recent move. I'm not sure what's going on there. This is palladium. This is one of the most insane fucking moves. Non-precious. Like, I feel like everybody should have industrialized metals around their fucking necks instead of gold and platinum. But this guy's actually showing some upside strength again after like a phenomenal fucking run from like 800 through 3,000. We drew this in last time. Possible bull flag range to keep an eye on. But like a lot of metals have strength. It's a broad-based kind of metals market. So it's fascinating to see that, and that's really indicating the fact that like, the monetary policies enacted to preserve the country's economic systems have repriced assets again across all spectrums. So, interesting things. I think that's about as much as I can cover. Let's see, time-wise, it is 9:03. Yeah, I can't do anything else. I'm out of time for this. So, that was a lot of stuff. You guys read the blog. Read it. Don't skim read it. I'm going to add a link for anybody that's in here wants to come to Telegram and chat and learn how to read information, not skim read it, because it will help you in more places than just trading. And all the people who say that, hey, I missed the show and I missed the link, if you don't know how to go back and replay it to see the link, I can't help you. I'm not going to send it to you if you can't solve that on your own. B-Train, respect on the bit, sir. There's a Telegram link. Make sure you have an avatar. People who are trolls and have come in there and been booted, your accounts are permanently banned. You can't come back. So if you hit it and it says you can't get in there, it's because you got in once and got banned for not doing anything. We don't want you to come back. We're really serious about it. Let's see. So catch up on everything else that's left real quick. Can't cover Eurosity today. Sorry about that. Ran out of time. ADT, we'll have to talk about the next one. Satellite companies, we talked about Siri in the last show. Look at the last show and you can see us do a quick take on Siri. They've been asked a few times and I've spoken about that. Don't have a lot on any other satellite companies to go over like Iridium or Intelsat or any of those guys, but in the Space Cash basket there are a few satellite plays. When we get to Space Cash we'll do more detailed discussion. Do you see Boeing as taking the BTC 2017 crash? No, I don't see that. Rubens, thanks for the bits, homie. Glad you enjoyed it. Jezebel, shout out to you. Appreciate you. Locked and loaded. I think I caught up to everybody. All right. CGC up 10%. Yeah, if they did an earnings play, we always tell you beware of earnings. I'm not sure what quoting it being up or down from earnings is doing for anybody in the show, but yeah. Izzy, respect on hand out some subs. I hope everybody understands. You don't have to subscribe to watch the show. You can watch it for free. But if you want to research any of the information we talk about, because it's quite a bit to absorb in an hour, then the sub lets you rewatch the show, so you can go and study some of the stuff that we put in here. Definitely advise that you do that. Most people won't. They'll watch it once and they'll skim and get whatever they get out of it. But for the more diligent mind, there is a greater value to be had with a little bit of patience. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. We had fun. This is the real Nomics, Fractal Tings. Till next time, everybody. Good luck today. Stay safe.
Welcome to Winternomics TV. Your stream will begin shortly. Loading in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get ready, bitches. Winternomics. Welcome